It's my pleasure to welcome you to the continuation of your news and current affairs program, reaching you live from our Lagos Network studio on the ITV network. I am Joshua Carter. On the program today, our focus is shifted to insecurity in Kogi State with a special bias to the unfortunate death of the former retired Army Major. I'm talking about Joe Ajayi, who died at 80 in the hands of kidnappers, specifically in their den, after several efforts made by the family to be able to allow Joe Ajayi have access to medication due to his deteriorating health situation. But of course, the kidnappers refused such demand. And of course, ransom payments were demanded to the tune of 10 million naira to be paid to the kidnappers. Of course, the family actually raised such fund despite how difficult it was to be able to source for such fund. But unfortunately, they met the lifeless body where Joe Ajayi was dumped somewhere in Kogi State by these very bloodthirsty kidnappers. Quite an unfortunate situation. And of course, it brings to the fact that Nigeria actually failed such a senior citizen who has served the country this much. To have this conversation this morning with me, I'm being joined by two gentlemen, one of which is right here with us in the studio, in the person of Mr. Matthew Oluko, who is a social affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Matthew, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, we are also being joined virtually by our guest in the person of Bishop James Grand Okocha, who is joining us virtually from Abuja. Bishop is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Bishop, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, I guess you can hear me. Well, let's go into the conversation. Now, let me start with you, Mr. Matthew Oluko. No one's death, no matter how high or low the person is less important. But of course, the death of everyone is very important as well, because life in itself is sacred. Now, what is so painful about the death of Joe Ajayi is the fact that he has served this country to a great length. He is a retired major in the Nigerian army. And looking at the level at which he has served the country, at a point where he needed the country the most, Nigeria failed him. What's your thought on that?
Once again, thank you for having me. I think it's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate because the government owes it a responsibility to protect lives and property. It is irrespective of whether the man in question served in any capacity. It is a responsibility that's incumbent on the governor of the state, who goes by the name of the governor and the chief security officer of the state. We understand that we have a president who goes by the name of the president and the commander of the armed forces. And the president, the governors, in their various capacities, have sworn to an oath to protect lives and property. So it's quite unfortunate that this has happened, and it could have happened to anyone, because we have a situation of insecurity. Is an even wind that blows no one any good. We can only hope and pray that the government should do the needful. To do the needful is to build capacity. It's quite unfortunate that we have a situation in our hands where non-state actors whose territories do all manner of crime, and they are still within the same sovereignty of Nigeria. It's another thing to say it is an external aggression. This time around, we are dealing with people who are operating within the same sovereignty. So I think it's a very peculiar issue. And again, through our various security agencies, we need to build capacity. Particularly, we need to leverage on technology to deal with this major issue. I listened to the retired military intelligence officer who talked about building capacity, the level of equipment they need to buy in terms of surveillance and all that. I think I should encourage government to look into how they can get most of those things. Because one, intelligence gathering is key. Because we have actionable intelligence that pays off, you agree with me that you would have need crime in the board. I must say that it's quite unfortunate. It's unfortunate because number one, life is sacrosanct, and number two, the government collectively, both at the national level and the state level, even at the local government level, have a responsibility to protect lives and property. Because both the governor, the local government chairman, and the president have taken an oath to protect lives and property. But let me tell you that it's quite unfortunate that our government have not been able to police every inch of Nigeria. And it, as a matter of urgency and necessity, the government need to build to possess monopoly of currency power. Actually, that's what you need to be able to deal with all these emerging threats. And the way it is, of the view that the recent approach of Mr. President, talking about the forest guard, where he have advised state governments to recruit between 2,000 and 5,000, depending on their financial capacity, I think it's the way to go. Hence, the federal government have agreed that through the Office of the National Security Advisor, that they will be armed. Because I think that was what that was lacking in the past. Because we have always seen this back and forth where the state level will come up with security arrangements, and to build capacity in terms of bearing arms becomes a challenge. We saw that happen under Akeredolu of Ondo State in the past. We saw rest in peace. We saw the challenge of Amateku recently. But if the government federal government can deal with that issue, I think it will go a long way in solving the issue of capacity on the part of security arrangement at the state level. Because from what we are seeing, I must say that it's not palatable at all. Looking at the lives of Toji Bello in Zamfara State, who the other time celebrated burning down military vehicle. Looking at what happened in Marite area of Borno State recently, where Boko Harams will burn down a military base, even if the military have told us that the vehicles were unserviceable vehicles. But the videos that followed after that does not portray it, does not look good at all. So generally speaking, I think the government collectively need to come together and address this challenge. Because one, you cannot be expecting investors in the economy under the atmosphere of fear. And again, I think this issue of Fulani militia, I'm not saying that the only one involved in crime and criminality, kidnapping and all that, but I think the government need to find a way to address it. All right. Because we are seeing what is happening in Benue State, what is happening in Boko's and Basa local government area of Plateau State, how people are being disalived, and though the government is trying to see how they can deal with it, but nobody will be happy hearing news of such on regular basis.
You made, that submission about capacity building. What do you think can be done in the area of capacity building from the state level? Yes, you talked about the fact that federal government has given that, mandate to be able to allow states to provide what we call forest guards and all of that. Now, how better can that, idea, be framed in such a way that it will come up and do more of security protection for people, especially looking at it from the area of building capacity in ICT?
Number one, I think the forest guard we are looking at should be able to be armed to the level of having capacity to combat this level of crime and criminality. I think I commend the impression from the presidency, acknowledging that yes, they will be trained from the Office of National Security Advisor and they will be armed, because like I told you earlier on, that was lacking in the past. And again, I think we need to leverage on technology. And leveraging on technology means the personnel you are recruiting or you are engaging must have the knowledge or the wherewithal to manage whatever device that we are bringing in. So it's going to show that you should engage some personnel who are knowledgeable to the extent of managing such devices. That's on one hand. Then there is every need for intelligent gathering, collaborative effort, collaboration with the locals, because all crime is local. You must draft in the traditional rulers, who of course know almost everybody in their terrain, is, if you go to rural areas, you quite agree with me that the traditional rulers know every person, know their character, and if there's any stranger in their midst, they can easily identify. So if there is confidence in the ability of government to handle intelligence, it becomes easier for the local to divulge such information. So I think that confidence should be rekindled if it's no longer in existence. And again, this is where the National Orientation Agency need to step in to build that confidence, to educate, to enlighten the local that issue of security is a collective one, that you need to play your part by divulging information, actionable one for that matter, to the security agencies as and when due, to enable them to nip crime in the bud. Because if you have gathering of miscreants, terrorists, and you have information about it, you go and arrest them, you would have succeeded in stopping their action before they even perpetrate it. So that's why intelligent gathering is key. And another issue is we should look at our porous borders. We should be able to see whether it's possible, not whether it's possible. We should be able to deploy technology to man our porous borders. There could be surveillance drones. There could be some other devices that you can deploy to gather intelligence along our border lines. I know our border is porous, but that should not be an excuse for insecurity we are having, because we are a sovereign state that by our standard we are supposed to police every inch of our sovereignty. It was with amazement we saw about 5 years ago how American Navy SEALs came into this country to rescue a 27 years Philip Wanton, an American citizen who was kidnapped in Niger, taken to either Sokoto or so in Nigeria. That is capacity, competence, and it is what they built over time. So I think as a people, as a country, we should develop to that level.
All right. Now, you've even given us an extensive, explanation as to how much capacity building, the state government can do aside forest guard, the incorporation of, our royal fathers who are custodians of the land, and of course, by extension, the people. Now, let me fall back to my guest. I believe he's still there, Bishop. You've listened to, I guess you've listened to the submission, provided by Mr. Matthew. The death of Joe Ajayi is one too many, especially considering the fact that Nigerians on a daily face one form of unfortunate situation or the other. Either today they are in the hands of kidnappers, or tomorrow they are attacked, especially in their community, by armed bandits. What do you think the governor of Kogi State needs to do first as a matter of urgency, considering the fact that Joe Ajayi is a senior citizen who has served this country so much to receive less or even nothing when it comes to support or the protection of his life?
Joshua, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly well. Please go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me.
Go ahead.
First
Go
of
ahead.
all, thank you so much. All right, thank you so much. The network has been a little bit challenged, but thank God I'm here. But before coming here, you asked me something. You talked about may Nigeria not happen to you, and honestly, that is a phrase I wouldn't want to skip. I definitely have to say something about that, because life does not matter in Nigeria. Life does not matter. Nobody cares about anybody. All right, life doesn't matter. Go to the hospitals, they wouldn't care when you bring them and an accident patient. They wouldn't give the person first aid. In fact, it's in every sector. Now, coming to security matters, I think this thing didn't start today. All right, from pre-colonial era, there have been, some kidnap cases, where the people are used for sacrifices, and from then to when you have slavery and all of that, to colonial era, to post-colonial era, where this kidnapping thing started, Niger Delta and all of that. But when you look at these things and critically, you will see that the much responsibility is on government. It is on government. There is no how our borders could be so porous the way it is. I could remember 2017, I think 2017 or so, or 18, I could remember that we in Nigeria, we were fighting to get NIN. Okay, we didn't have, but people from Nigeria, you will see them having NIN. All right, our borders are so porous that there is nothing anybody can do about it. People, Saudi Arabia and Iraq, their borders are fenced. All right, Pakistan and what do you call it? Afghanistan, their borders are fenced. That's when they have peace. What would make Nigerian government not to face our borders? All right, someone that has served in that capacity, the military has no morale. The average salary of Nigerian soldiers is 50,000. That is the average salary. We have not prioritized security in Nigeria. We don't prioritize things that we should prioritize. This is not time to be campaigning. This is time for the government to sit down and prioritize security. The degree of insecurity in Nigeria, I mean, is alarming. All right, you don't need to preach Nigerians to vote you as a government when you have solved their problems. Why people are going about, pushing for endorsement, campaigning even before the time is because, I mean, they haven't done the needful. Let the government of the day sit down and see this security issue as primary. I am telling you, once it is done, you don't need to preach much.
All right. Now, the question I asked you is unfortunate you are reacting to the first one, which you never had an opportunity to do so. But the question I asked you is that now that this situation has happened where the lifeless body was, seen somewhere in Kogi State by the family, what do you think the state governor can do in sympathizing and empathizing with the family of the deceased?
For me, such a man in that capacity should be given a state burial. He should be given a state burial. Besides what he has done for the Nigerian nation, he has also served in other capacities. He's been a voice. He's been one of the voices in the Christian community in Kogi State there. I know he was one time the Christian Association chairman of Kaba, and all of that. So I think a man in that capacity should be given a state burial. But besides that, my pain is not just it's not just about him, right? My pain is not just about him. This insecurity in Kogi did not start today. It didn't start today. Too many people have been adopted in that Kogi environment. Something has to be done. Let's give him a state burial and all of that, and also let the state government boost security. Let them boost security, local vigilante, local security. Let it come under the State Act. Empower them, arm them, and all of that. I think this should be done, and it should be done without a waste of time.
All right, thank you so much, Bishop James. Your submissions were on point. Now, let me fall back to my guest here, Mr. Matthew, before we wrap up the conversation. Already, it's an established fact that the family of Joe Ajayi actually paid a ransom to the tune of 10 million. What does this speak, especially given the fact that in recent times we've seen security agencies coming out to debunk rumors of ransom payment when actually people are actually paying huge sum to be able to redeem their loved one? What's your take on that finally in just 2 minutes?
It's not about what the government is saying, it's about the fact of the matter. This is not the first time we are hearing ransom paying, but what is most worrisome in our current situation is a situation where those who are meant to protect people are becoming vulnerable to bandits. I understand that the man that first victim is a retired military personnel, but we are seeing people who are in active service, of course, falling victim. We saw the burning down of military base recently. So the worrisome situation, as I conclude, is those who are meant to protect the people are now vulnerable to bandits. So that is where the government needs to be strategic and go back to the drawing board to see how they could take out of the boss. Got to continue doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result is a mirage.
May Nigeria never happen to any one of us. Well, that's a beautiful note to wrap up the conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Matthew Oluko, special, social affairs analyst, and of course, Bishop James Grant Okwacha, who is joining us virtually from Abuja. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you both. All right, we'll be shifting our attention right now to Beneath Network Studios.